Hey Lakers fans, what's going on? Welcome back to another big update straight out of Los Angeles. And trust me, there's a lot to unpack here. The Lakers have been busy, really busy, making some quiet but strategic moves that tell us a lot about where this franchise is heading. And no, we're not talking about blockbuster trades or superstar signings this time. We're talking about the future, the kind of behind-the-scenes building that could shape how this team stays competitive over the next few years. So, here's the situation. The Lakers walked into the 2025 G League draft holding the number 1 overall pick. That's a big deal in itself, because you don't always see the purple and gold sitting in that position. With that pick, they selected Dillon Jones, a tough, versatile guard who, on paper, looked like the kind of player who could eventually carve out a role in the NBA. Think of a guy who brings grit, energy, and that do-it-all style that the Lakers have loved from some of their recent success stories. He wasn't projected to be a star or anything, but more like one of those reliable pieces who come off the bench, make smart plays, and fill gaps when needed. But right when fans started getting curious about Jones and what he might bring to the table, boom, the Lakers traded him. The move raised some eyebrows, but it wasn't without purpose. In return, Los Angeles picked up some valuable future draft capital and, interestingly enough, a player named Will Richardson. Now, if that name sounds familiar to some of you, there's a reason. The Lakers had actually worked him out a few years back when he was coming out of Oregon, and he's been on their radar ever since. So, this wasn't just a random name thrown into a deal. There's some history here. Let's talk about the bigger picture first. The Lakers' growing interest in G League talent, and these kinds of moves isn't accidental. The NBA is evolving, and teams are realizing the importance of having a strong developmental system. You can't just rely on free agents or big trades anymore. Not with the way the new collective bargaining agreement limits spending flexibility. The Lakers have clearly decided to lean into that idea, building a structure that mirrors what we see in Major League Baseball, a farm system that develops players from the ground up. The goal? To find hidden gems, mold them, and eventually turn them into real contributors at the NBA level. It's actually a smart approach. Think about how many players across the league are making a name for themselves after coming through the G League pipeline. The Lakers have seen that success firsthand with a few guys in recent seasons, and they want more of it. So, instead of treating their affiliate team as just a secondary stop for minutes, they're using it as a true development platform, a place where coaches can teach, experiment, and prepare players for the real deal. That's where moves like this make perfect sense. Now, about the trade itself, Dillon Jones for future assets and Will Richardson. When you first look at it, it feels like the Lakers might have given up on Jones too quickly, right? After all, he was their number 1 pick. But digging deeper, it becomes clear that this was never really about Jones as much as it was about flexibility. The Lakers have been stacking assets quietly, giving themselves more options to maneuver down the line. 2 future first-rounders can become serious bargaining chips when the next big name becomes available. And as for Will Richardson, he's more of a bonus piece, someone who fits into the team's developmental timeline, but also fills a potential need if things break right. Richardson is an interesting player. He's a 6'5" combo guard who can handle the ball, shoot decently from deep, and play multiple backcourt positions. He's not a freak athlete. You won't see him blowing past defenders or dunking over centers, but he's crafty. He knows how to use his body, how to control tempo, and how to get teammates involved. That's something the Lakers have always valued, especially in their role players. He's also got the size and wingspan to defend 1 through 3, which fits perfectly in today's switch-heavy defensive schemes. The downside, of course, is that he's already 26 years old. That doesn't mean his window is closed, but it does mean he's probably closer to his ceiling than his floor. Still, for a G League acquisition, it's not about getting a superstar. It's about finding guys who can fill specific roles and give the organization options. That's where Richardson comes in. He's the kind of player who might not make the Lakers' main roster right away, but could provide valuable minutes down the line or be part of another trade package if the opportunity arises. What's also fascinating here is how much this move shows the Lakers' evolving mindset. The old Lakers, the Hollywood Lakers, were all about stars. They chased the biggest names, the flashiest plays, and the instant headlines. But this version of the Lakers seems more grounded. They're investing in player development, scouting deeper, and building long-term value. You can almost see the blueprint taking shape. Find young, moldable talent, stack draft assets, and create a structure that can sustain success even when the LeBrons and the Anthonys of the world eventually move on. Another point worth mentioning is how this trade fits within the larger context of the modern NBA. With the league adding more two-way contracts and creating stronger ties between G League and NBA rosters, it's easier than ever for teams to experiment and shuffle talent between levels. That's huge for a team like the Lakers. It gives them more control over player rights, more flexibility in call-ups, and more ways to test potential fits without committing to long-term deals. So when they pick up a guy like Will Richardson, they're not just thinking about what he could do today, they're thinking about how he might fit a year or two from now, once he's been through their system. If you take a step back, you can see this move as part of a broader philosophy shift. Instead of chasing temporary solutions, the Lakers are slowly building an ecosystem that keeps producing talent. Guys like Max Christie, Austin Reeves, those are examples of the kind of success this model can bring. Not every player will make the main roster, and not every pick will turn into a contributor, but the key is creating enough chances for one or two to hit big. And when that happens, you get rotation players on team-friendly deals, which is gold under the new salary rules. There's also an element of strategy in trading Dillon Jones so quickly. Some reports suggest the Lakers might have planned that from the start, drafting him as part of a prearranged deal. If that's true, it means the front office already had their eye on the picks and on Richardson before the draft even began. That kind of planning shows how calculated they're being with every move. It's not about making noise in the offseason. It's about setting up the pieces for when the right moment comes. Well, Richardson himself may not be the next big thing in Los Angeles, but that's not really the point. The real takeaway is how the Lakers are approaching team building in a league that's getting more competitive and more restrictive with every new rule. They're adapting quietly, efficiently, and with purpose. Every asset counts. Every player has potential value, whether as a contributor, a trade chip, or a developmental project. And every decision, even one that seems minor on the surface, fits into a much bigger picture. So when you look at this trade, Dillon Jones out, Will Richardson and 2 future picks in, it's not just about comparing the two players. It's about understanding the philosophy behind it. The Lakers are betting on their ability to identify, develop, and maximize talent at every level. They're betting that their system, their coaching, and their scouting will turn these moves into something meaningful down the road. That's the kind of thinking that separates good organizations from great ones. And for a team that's always defined itself by banners and rings, it's refreshing to see them investing in the foundation again. This isn't the flashiest headline you'll read about the Lakers this year, but it might just be one of the smartest. And when you start thinking about how this approach might pay off in the long run, it really begins to make sense. The Lakers are not just playing for the now anymore. They're clearly building for what comes next. The days of waiting for a superstar to fall into their lap are over. They're planting seeds, experimenting, and setting the stage for the next era of Lakers basketball. It's a more patient strategy, but one that might make this team far more stable in the future than it's been in the past decade. Well, Richardson represents a small but significant part of that philosophy. He's not being brought in as a savior or someone who's going to change the team's fate overnight. Instead, he's a player who fits the mold of what the Lakers seem to be valuing lately: smart, versatile, and coachable. He has size, he has shooting ability, and he understands the rhythm of the game. He's also a disciplined defender, using his wingspan and positioning rather than raw speed or explosiveness to make stops. Those are traits that can translate if he continues to refine them within the Lakers system. But the reality is, he faces an uphill climb. The Lakers' backcourt rotation is already crowded with names like Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Gabe Vincent. Add to that some promising young guards like Jalen Hood-Schifino and Max Christie, and there isn't exactly a clear path to minutes. For someone like Richardson, the most realistic route involves putting in serious work with the South Bay Lakers, proving he can lead, defend, and stretch the floor consistently. That's how guys like Alex Caruso and Reeves made their mark, by turning heads in the G League until the main team had no choice but to give them a shot. Still, Richardson's journey is a little different because of his age. At 26, he's no longer considered a prospect in the traditional sense. He's at the stage where most players either break through or settle into long-term roles overseas or in developmental circuits. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though. Sometimes maturity can be an asset. A player who understands his strengths and limitations can often adapt faster than a younger guy still figuring things out. If Richardson can embrace that mindset, he might become a valuable rotation option sooner than people think. What makes this even more interesting is how much the Lakers' developmental focus aligns with where the NBA itself is heading. The league has been working hard to make the G League more integrated, adding more two-way contracts, making it easier for teams to keep player rights, and creating smoother transitions between levels. Essentially, it's becoming less of a separate league and more of an extension of NBA rosters. That gives teams like the Lakers a lot more control and flexibility. They can experiment with rotations, test out pairings, and see how players respond to professional structures without having to commit full roster spots. It's also a way to protect their investments. In the past, if a G League player started to shine, another team could swoop in and grab him with a standard NBA contract. Now, those rules are tighter. Teams can retain certain rights or negotiate directly. That means all the time, coaching, and resources spent developing a player actually stay within the organization. For a team like Los Angeles, which puts so much into its scouting and training systems, that's huge. It allows them to truly reap the benefits of their own work instead of watching someone else take the reward. Another reason this kind of structure matters is because of the financial side. The new collective bargaining agreement has made it much harder for big market teams to just spend their way to success. Every dollar counts. Every contract decision comes with ripple effects that impact flexibility down the line. By building through the G League and internal development, the Lakers can fill out the back end of their roster with affordable talent that still fits their system. It's the modern version of Moneyball, Lakers style, using data, scouting, and smart cap management to stay competitive without overspending. That's why these small moves matter. Trading Dylan Jones might not make the front page of any sports site, but it's a chess move in a long game. The Lakers didn't just trade a young player for the sake of it. They traded him because they gained assets that expand their options. Those future picks could become leverage for a mid-season deal, a sign-in trade, or even a way to move up in next year's draft. That kind of flexibility is priceless in today's NBA, where opportunities appear suddenly and vanish just as quickly. Of course, that doesn't mean there isn't a bit of risk involved. Anytime you move a player who might have upside, there's a chance he develops elsewhere and makes you regret it. But the Lakers seem confident in their process, confident that they know who fits their long-term vision and who doesn't. That's what separates a structured front office from one that's just reacting to headlines. This trade wasn't impulsive. It was measured. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, in what could be the most shocking move of the NBA offseason, rumors are swirling that the Los Angeles Lakers have officially announced the acquisition of SHAI Gilgeous-Alexander. The news, still reverberating through social media and sports networks, has left fans and analysts alike scrambling to make sense of the blockbuster transaction. SHAI, long considered one of the league's brightest young stars, would bring a dynamic, playmaking presence to a Lakers roster already brimming with talent. Sources close to the team suggest that the deal was in motion for weeks, with intense negotiations behind closed doors. The Lakers, determined to reclaim championship glory, apparently pulled out all the stops to secure Gilgeous-Alexander, whose scoring prowess and leadership have made him a coveted asset in recent seasons. Speculation is rife over which pieces were involved in the trade, with whispers pointing to a mix of draft picks and established players being sent elsewhere, though no official confirmation has emerged. Fans are already buzzing about how SHAI's unique skill set could mesh with the Lakers' star-studded lineup. Could he form a lethal trio alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Analysts are already debating potential rotations, defensive schemes, and whether this move signals a win-now mentality that could shake up the Western Conference. Some skeptics argue that chemistry could be a concern, but others point out that Gilgeous-Alexander's versatility and calm demeanor make him a natural fit in high-pressure situations. The timing of the announcement only adds to the intrigue. Coming at the tail end of a flurry of off-season rumors, it seems designed to dominate headlines and ignite fan excitement. Social media platforms have been ablaze with speculation, memes, and heated debates, reflecting the mix of shock and awe that this news has generated. If this deal is indeed finalized, it could be one of the most talked-about transactions in recent NBA history, a move that might redefine the Lakers' championship aspirations for years to come. As the dust settles and more details emerge, one thing is clear. The NBA world is watching Los Angeles with bated breath. Whether this is a masterstroke or a gamble, SHAI Gilgeous-Alexander in purple and gold is a story that will dominate conversations from coast to coast. Fans, analysts, and rival teams alike are now left wondering how this bold move will reshape the landscape of the league, as the Lakers appear determined to make the boldest statement of the season. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.